Good afternoon, beautiful people, and welcome back for another episode of the Uncomfortable Chat. Today we've got an absolute legend for you as Harry Higgs joins the pod to discuss all things Philadelphia Eagles, life on the PGA Tour, his dominant year on the Korn Ferry Tour, including what very well might be the most underrated shot in all of golf in 2024. Holding an 83-yard wedge shot on the 72nd hole to force a playoff in your hometown event and then winning on the first playoff hole. Legendary stuff, to say the least. We may even talk a little Phoenix Open, the scene where he and Joel Damon decided to celebrate topless Saturdays in front of 40,000 screaming drunks on the 16th hole. Grab your popcorn, sit back, and enjoy the big man himself, Harry Higgs. Right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. And I want to welcome on a very special guest. He's a three-time champion on the Korn Ferry Tour and a PGA Tour veteran at the ripe old age of 32, an avid SMU Mustang and Philadelphia Eagles fan, and a man who has never found a button on a collared shirt in his life. Known throughout the world as the Big Rig or Big Beautiful, I give you all Harry Higgs. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hell yeah, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you calling me special, amongst many things. I don't know if I'm special, but
very special. You're very special. Get it right. It's good to have you on here, bud. What's new in Harry Higgs' world these days?
Really nothing. We just talked a little bit off air. I do feel like I've basically played a top player schedule this year, not on the PGA Tour, but the Korn Ferry Tour, and then getting to finish the first week of this month. So I've had darn near a whole month off, and that's going to continue. I'm going to play I guess it's next week now. The Worldwide Technologies, they're a sponsor of mine. They also sponsor the event in Cabo. So I'm going to play that week. And then my wife and I did decide to go down to Australia for the Aussie PGA and the Aussie Open. So instead of spending a whole lot of time at home, we did opt for some serious travel and a little bit of golf. That was a tough decision to make. I was certainly really excited about what would be almost 3 months at home being a normal person. But I'm sure you've got experience. We're golfers. We play golf tournaments. That normal person stuff lasted for a couple of weeks, and then we opted to certainly for a couple of weeks travel halfway across the world, but get back into it, get back to kind of preparing and trying to pay attention to where the golf ball's going. It was nice the last couple of weeks, not really. You hit a few bad shots and you didn't really care. The care factor is starting to increase as we have tournaments on the horizon.
Yep, well, good for you. Playing tournaments down in Australia is definitely something different, and it's going to feel like golf still when you're inside the ropes, but outside the ropes, it'll be night and day different. I'm very curious. I guess it's the start of the DP World Tour season. Not that it's obviously over in Europe, but kind of curious of the difference in how the events are run. Certainly much different golf and kind of different people. See how, it might be different fan interactions, whatever it may be. I'm super excited to get down there and experience a whole new country, a place I've never been before. And honestly, a place that I probably was never going to go to unless it was for golf. So that was kind of the decision, the ultimate deciding factor in making that decision. Let's get down there and go experience something different for 2 weeks. We've been emailing back and forth. It's a good reminder. I need to get off this call and set up the visas so they let me in the country. That helps.
But no, it certainly might help. I'm excited to go see something different. And the folks down there seem to, at least right now, be certainly treating me like royalty, which I do not deserve. But trying to set up a bunch of stuff for, off the golf course and restaurant recommendations. I think there's going to be some, I don't think they call it hugging. I think they call it cuddling with koalas, maybe feeding some kangaroos. I'm excited. It's a long flight and quite a bit of travel and some time away from home. But we're so used to time away from home and all the travel. So I'm sure it'll feel like any other week that I've gone and played golf.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, they're treating you like a very special guest as well. So
Yeah.
they obviously know Harry Higgs, and no, I did the when the Korn Ferry tour was playing there back in, gosh, I don't
Yeah.
even know, 2006, 2008. I don't remember what year I went down there. I flew down and played 3 events there. We played in Melbourne, Christchurch, New Zealand, and
Yeah.
Queenstown, New Zealand, and it was an awesome little run. It
Cool.
was it's a long ways to go. Random side story: I flew out of LA February 20th, and I landed on the 22nd.
Yes.
And my birthday was the 21st. So technically, I'm a
Really?
year younger. Yep.
Okay. Going there, I lose a day. I mean, a day of my life is gone. Now, granted, you do gain that day back.
Yeah, that'll mess with you big time.
Yeah.
So no, well, good luck down there. I know you'll have a great time and enjoy Australia for what it is. I mean, if you're going to go that far, you might as well enjoy it. And
yes, it will be a week where I maybe don't pay a whole lot of attention to the golf, which will probably be, not for sure, but certainly usually allows better results to come when you're not so worried about all the golf, which I am looking forward to.
Just relax and go play, right?
Yep.
So before we get cranking here, do you want to talk a little football? I mean, your Eagles got a good win Sunday. Your ponies at SMU are up to top 20 in the country now. I mean, it's a good time to be Harry Higgs as far as football.
Yeah, would love to. They are going to honor a team that I was on at SMU, the SMU Pittsburgh game this Saturday night. I was originally not going to be in town, but I will be in town. But I'm excited for that. My wife is actually yet to go to an SMU game. We'll show her the Boulevard. We'll do it fancy, which is nice. It's nice to have rich friends. We will be doing that one fancy. And then, yes, it seems like, at least as of right now, my Eagles have turned a corner. There's probably still some questions to be answered. Honestly, those questions, go back to last year and the basically collapse. But Jalen Hurts playing good football, not turning it over. Everybody's healthy. We've got all of our weapons. Defense is playing better. Cincinnati, they beat pretty handily. Cincinnati's record's not great, but I think Cincinnati is a good football team. So that should be, the week before they beat the heck out of the Giants. I don't think the Giants are worth a damn.
And I think it was the Browns with Deshaun before that. So, I mean, most quality wins, we'll say, to be nice. Still
quality, maybe lower quality, but quality. Okay. There is some kind of quality. Maybe decent or bordering just above decent, whatever that may be. Your Steelers look all right too, Weedy.
Steelers are good last night.
I feel okay about the Russell Wilson, jump to him, and it has looked like it has improved.
It has improved.
I think you and I
got a brutal schedule.
Yeah, I think you and I schedule coming up there with their defense. That defense is pretty unbelievable. Shoot, it looks like you're going to win some if you just get to double digits in points the way that defense plays, man.
They look good. As long as you got TJ over there and teams are dumb enough to single team him late in the game,
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The guy still doesn't get talked about enough how good he is. It truly is remarkable.
He's a closer for us. He's Mariano Rivera. When the game's on the line, let him loose, and he does what he did last night. It's a sack.
There are guys that get paid a lot of money to block guys like him, and no one can do it. So it's
fun to watch. Well, why don't you give our listeners a little bit of a background on Harry Higgs growing up, and were there any other sports you played, and what kind of kid were you growing up?
Cool.
Try to keep as clean as you can, I guess. Who knows? Maybe you're a hoodlum.
I was blessed. Everything was very quote unquote normal. Pretty normal upbringing. I certainly played about every sport I could, all the way up through kind of early high school, and then kind of realized that golf was really the only thing I was truly good at, and certainly, would always have been my first choice. So we kind of stuck with that. But no, I grew up playing everything. I never did a ton of, I did flag football. I did tackle football for a year. Really, really enjoyed hitting people, tackling people. Did not enjoy getting hit. So did a lot of that. But no, I was very fortunate. I actually did a little Q&A with the USGA. Has started like the kind of U.S. national team earlier this week. And then somebody did ask kind of what was my junior golf experience. I was very fortunate. We moved to Kansas City from the Philadelphia area when I was 10. Super fortunate. We moved right on a golf course. A lot of, go to school, finish school, get home, probably have a snack, and then jump on my bike with my bag on my back and just go straight up to the golf course. So I had very easy access, which made it, made it fun, made me, get out there. And then the last little bit that really, really probably flipped the tides towards golf was when we went to the golf course. There were 3, 4, 5, if not more, kids that were either my age, a year or two younger, a year or two older, and that was kind of where everybody met. This was definitely before cell phones, so everybody just kind of met up at the golf course at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we would practice some, putting contests, chipping contests, go play the golf course. Hell, my wife, we got married the first week of May this year, but we've known each other forever. She was, essentially part of that group. She was a year younger than me in school, but she was always up there. She played golf in high school and in college. I was very fortunate, looking back now, to have like ages, peers, if you will, around my age that were always at the golf course, which always kind of kept me getting up there and getting up there and getting up there. And then, it's just snowballed from there. It's something I've always enjoyed. I've always really, once we got into competitive golf, I really enjoyed that. I like beating people, and I like a lot of the onus is, really all the onus is just on you. You can't sub in or out. You just got to keep going and try to figure it out. And every day presents a different challenge. No 2 days are the same in this stupid game. But the opportunity to play and compete against the best in the world is what gets me out of bed each day.
Oh, for sure. It's well, first back to the beginning there. It's just nice to hear that you're playing a ton of sports. I'm a huge believer in that, and I think that in today's world, the kids have gotten so specialized with their sports where it's like, I play golf and I don't play anything else because golf takes up all my time. And they've got all their swing instructors, they've got psychologists they're working with, and they're 11 years old. It's like, okay, guys, you're going to get burnt out here real fast. Like, why don't you go play? Baseball,
burn out
go play some
16.
soccer.
Yeah,
exactly. Just go try them all. You might like something better. You might start to not like golf at one point, and then you wish you'd played something else. So,
we growing up in Kansas City, you're going to have the 4 seasons. At some point, it's going to be cold, too cold to play golf. Again, looking back on that, that was probably a great omen that I couldn't do it year round, and basically baseball would be. Or not baseball, sorry, excuse me. Basketball would be in the winter. Mix in some baseball with the golf. During the summer, it was, if I had to do it over again, knowing what I know, I would basically do the exact same thing. I would not have, I didn't have a lesson, lesson from an instructor until I got here to Dallas and was playing at SMU. That is certainly not, worked for me. It may not work for everybody else, but I see it a lot. But I think on the whole, golf just breaks you down, just wears you out.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's nice to maybe feel that, scratch that competitive itch somewhere else. So it's not just always golf. Again, to put it plainly, if I had to do it over again, I would do it all the same. I would play as many sports as I possibly could. And then, it certainly seemed like golf was going to be maybe my most successful and one that I enjoyed the most. But when I was a little older, we made that decision to just stick with golf. And fortunately, it's worked out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just slowly started eliminating one at a time when I just stopped getting the enjoyment out of basketball, or, I stopped skiing when I'd rip my knee up a little bit. And then it was down to baseball and golf. And I finally realized that I got snubbed up for an all-star team one time when I really felt I deserved it. And I just figured, if I shoot 65, nobody can tell me no. There's no person there that can be like, hey, you didn't play well enough. Well, the leaderboard says differently. So I love that part of it. And I love the battle with, with yourself and with a golf course. Just that's the only people out there. There was no opponents for the most part. You just had to go compete against the golf course and try to keep your own wits about you.
My thought, exactly.
I want to take a quick minute to thank our first ever sponsor at the Uncomfortable Chat, and that's Slipstream IT, a company redefining IT for life sciences. At Slipstream, they partner with a purpose and believe in the power of technology in the life sciences to enable people to live healthier, more fulfilling lives. You can learn more about Slipstream at slipstream-it.com. And now back to Harry Higgs. So after graduating SMU, you played on the Latin America tour in 2015, and then chased the mini tour circuit in 2016 and 17 before getting back to the Latino in 18. Before we dive into 2018, can you talk a bit more about the mini tour life and what a wild place it is? I spent 4 years of my life right out of college playing the mini tours, and I don't think people have a clue what that lifestyle looks like. I know my days were 2001 to 2005, I guess it would have been, and that was kind of the heyday of mini tour golf, and where I think my last year, right before I got onto the Korn Ferry, I think I made about $200,000 on mini tours that year, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
Because they kept getting corporate sponsors. We had Grey Goose that sponsored it, and I was winning 35 grand a week, back-to-back weeks, and I thought I was the richest human in the world.
Yeah.
But then there were also mini tours where you'd go and you'd put you pony your money up, and then you weren't sure if you were going to get paid or not. And all of a sudden, the guy that's running the tournament took all the money and skipped town. So what was your mini tour experience like?
Oh, well, fortunately, the last little bit of never getting paid, I never had any issues with that. You sound like you had it maybe a little better than I did. I do know that the years prior to when I was playing, mini tours did have their heyday. Man, so when I got here to SMU again, freshman year, I thought I was the greatest thing ever. Had brief moments where I played some good golf, and then basically for the next about half the year, for the next 2 years while I was in school, I certainly was getting better, but kind of struggling. And then my senior year, I saw kind of a leap. And you just learn more. You learn about what works for you, how you yourself are going to get better. Senior year, I started having some good results, and then obviously turned pro. And it was basically the same thing. So what took me basically 3 years in college to get to a level where I was going to compete and compete more regularly was damn near the same thing, in pro golf. It took me about 3 years, obviously, then, played the PGA Tour Latin America kind of the fourth year and really felt like I was ready and I was better than the competition I was playing against. Now, feeling that and actually going out and achieving that are totally different things. I was fortunate to feel it and then also achieve it and kind of level up. My time in mini tour golf, I think the word I'd use was almost like romantic, and I know that that's kind of ass backwards, but like,
no, I get it.
Trying to find the joy in going to some of these towns that you certainly will never visit again. Small town Louisiana, small town Oklahoma, a lot of small towns here in Texas going playing some pretty rugged golf courses. Some were phenomenal. A lot of 1, 2, 3 stoplight towns that we're visiting, but finding either Airbnbs, which weren't plenty, but finding maybe a house to stay in, which was back then it was nice, man. It was like $60 a night. Now they're a couple $100, if not a couple $1,000 a night. But packing a couple of your buddies in there, and maybe going to the local dinner spot where everybody that actually lives in the town goes to, instead of going to the Chili's that all the other guys in the field are going to. We had a rule. It was a nice town if they had a Chili's. It was maybe a not so nice town if it was just Applebee's that was offered. But no, I really enjoyed kind of the getting to see different parts of the world, different parts of the country. And then when we are there, trying to experience somewhat what it's like for the folks that live here as well. That was the romantic part. In terms of the golf part, it's organized gambling. You're basically just putting up money that you hope will come back to you. Basically every event I ever played in, you had to finish in the top 10 to get your entry fee back for the most part. And really first or second are truly the only guys that are going to actually profit. First with a whole lot more, they paid out the purse. The majority of it goes to the guy that wins. I never won a mini tour event. Was fortunate to win the PGA Tour Latin America, which could be called a mini tour. I think I'd like to call it more of a developmental tour. There's a little bit more money to be paid, certainly more expenses to be paid as well. But no, I enjoyed it. Once I got to the PGA Tour, again, pretty similar college mini tour than to the tour. The first couple of years I did well, but it was like I needed another couple more to kind of struggle and learn again to get better. And hopefully, this year upcoming will be the year that you see, quote unquote, a breakthrough, right? I've been through some good, some bad, and I've kind of experienced it all. But all the mini tour experience got me to believe, at least once I showed up to the PGA Tour, that's like, I can beat all these guys, and none of these guys had to do what I had to do to get here. Now, most of them did. There are a lot of them that don't, and those are the usually the top players in the game, and they've been that way for a long time. But I kind of, once I got to the tour, I felt like having to experience some of these places and go to these towns and play some of these golf courses and kind of deal with, and I'd say slight adversity. It wasn't anything major, but just, where am I going to do my laundry? There's, I know it doesn't look like it, but I do spend time in the gym. There's no gym I can use. So how can I, prime my body to be able to perform how I want it to perform? All this stuff, you're just jumping through hoops, trying to figure all these things out, and then trying to go out and play your best golf. Having that experience, I think certainly helps me enjoy the perks of all the perks that come with the PGA Tour. And then it certainly helps me in, feeling that I'm ready, feeling that I'm hardened and I can handle the adversity. Mini tour golf is romantic in a way, but filled with adversity. But that's kind of what we all signed up for. And I think everybody that signs up for professional golf is well aware of that potential reality.
Yeah, completely. If you break even on a mini tours, you're having a hell of a year.
And, you've done great.
Yeah, I agree with the romanticizing part of it, because you're living out of a car a lot of times and you're traveling from hotel to hotel. And I remember, I have a terrible memory, but I remember that back in 2001, I was playing a mini tour event in Alabama, and I was sharing this old clunky motel with 2 queen beds with Ryan Armour, who is one on the PGA Tour. Yeah. And then a guy named Randy Lean, who I played with at Indiana, and Mike Austin, who played at Ohio State. There were 4 of us in a room with 2 queen beds. 2 guys slept on air mattresses. Whoever played the worst got to sleep on air mattresses, and whoever slept the best got the queen beds. And at this little motel, there was a 9-hole miniature golf out front. And we would take like a case of Miller Lite out there and just gamble all afternoon when we got done with our practice rounds or with our tournament rounds. And then we'd go to like Subway, I think, every night for dinner, because you could get like a foot-long sub, a bag of chips, and a drink for like $7 or something back then. So I mean, I could get my dinners for $50 for the week, but I didn't think twice about it. That was just the life you knew at that time. You didn't know the PGA Tour lifestyle, or even the Korn Ferry Tour lifestyle, for that matter.
No, and every level too. I mean, that's one that sounds incredible. Every level too, it gets more and more, mini tour, Latin America, developmental tour.
Yep.
Everybody's in the same boat. No one's got any money. You're all trying to, my experience, Latin America, you're trying to get enough guys around that know enough Spanish to get the dinners and order some food. And then the Korn Ferry Tour, it's a little different. You might have a handful of buddies that you're going to hang out with, rent houses with. And then the PGA Tour, I mean, it pretty much is just you. I mean, certainly there are plenty of lifelong friends that I have that I've met on the PGA Tour and played the PGA Tour with. But for the most part, you only see guys at the golf course. They've got their own rental house with their family or their kind of support system, and that's who they're hanging with this week. They're not really going out to dinners. And I do this a ton now too. I kind of like it more that way. I can get away from the golf. I certainly like staying with guys that, once we get into the house, we don't talk about golf. We maybe place a very simple wager on whatever game is on that night, and we sit there and watch it. And that's that. We don't really get too into the golf because no one cares what I did on 16, and I don't care what they did on 16.
Correct.
But it's funny how those things. It's funny how those things change as you level up. And that's part of, that certainly is part of the experience. And you got to figure out ways to, quote unquote, deal with that. I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with either of those stages. But you're all in the same boat until you get there. And then for most, you kind of, you separate those boats and you kind of go off on your own path. Certainly stay close with a lot of people. But the numbers kind of dwindle as you get higher in the ranks, that you certainly keep it more to yourself. Yeah, I do. I really enjoy look back fondly on my mini tour golf. I'm also very glad that I'm what seems to be, pretty far away from having to do that again.
Correct.
I don't know that I'd like to do it again. But
it's nice to go through when you're younger. You don't really want to do it once you get a taste of the best tour in the world. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully never again. But you never know.
Never know. Never say never, but never.
You never know.
Well, you started playing some great golf in 2018, including a win on the Latin America Tour in Peru, and went on to win the Order of Merit later that season. That got you your first year on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2019, where you had a great year. You had 13 top 25 finishes and 18 starts, culminating with a win late in the season at the Price Cutter Charity Championship. Did that season give you the confidence you needed to go to the PGA Tour? And also, does that win in Springfield secretly haunt you at night because you know it sent me into retirement by not winning?
No.
I did finish second.
Did you?
That was the end of my career. That was the end of my run right there.
Man.
If you had just, pulled a hammy or something on 18, I'd probably have 2 or 3 majors by now.
Yeah, I thought I remember being maybe 2 or 3 ahead on 18.
You were too clear. You were too clear, but I did finish second.
Yeah. I remember playing with Andy Svoboda and Grant Hirschman. And Grant's a friend of mine.
Yep.
That Sunday. I did not remember a run you made, Weedy. That was
yep. I was right. Yeah. I think I was the group in front of you. Svoboda and I ended up finishing tied for second. Yep. Okay. So again, just if you had just pulled the hammy walking down that hill on 18, there's a good chance I'd be doing this interview with a green jacket on right now. Is all I'm saying.
Hey man, it's possible. It certainly is. I'll play golf with you, Weedy. I know how good you are. It's certainly possible.
Oh yeah, right. In my own mind.
Yeah,
right?
That was a great week. I don't really remember, especially over the weekend, like looking much at leaderboards, so it doesn't really shock me that normally, almost all the time, I have a really pretty great golf memory, and I can remember. I remember who I was playing with.
Yep.
I didn't remember you up there in a tie for second, Weedy.
It's fine, bud. I'm forgettable. I'm very forgettable.
I had it.
Not a big deal.
I mean, I am too. I had it on autopilot that week. Yeah, it was nice. I vividly remember the week before that. I was almost, quote unquote, tour bound. The week before that, I think I needed to finish like 24th or better in Omaha to become, quote unquote, tour bound. And at that point, I had played so much that year. Once I was going to be tour bound, I was just going to shut it down for a week or two. Well, I pulled it into the bunker in Omaha off 18 and made double to finish like 26th. And then have to drive from Omaha back to Kansas City, back to home for a night. And then did actually the Truck Cup, rest in peace, that next Monday, which is a lot of fun. We'll put it that way. There's usually
you might still be recovering for that one.
Fun, silly golf with some libations on a Monday.
I think libations come before the golf.
Yeah, before, during, and after.
Yeah.
I do. I remember driving then to Springfield Tuesday. Certainly in no position to drive Monday after the Truck Cup. And I hit a few putts on Tuesday. It's so hot. I'm just dead to the world, super hungover. Just didn't do anything Tuesday. Went out and played my pro on Wednesday, and then felt pretty normal on Thursday. But the double that I had made in Omaha got me. Wouldn't have probably been playing the tournament if I had just made a par on that hole and been quote unquote tour bound. It's funny how these things work out. Then I wind up winning the golf tournament. It certainly makes me tour bound and gets me further up the list. That was I guess not the first one. I had won Latin America the year before, but I had a lot of chances that year, a lot of seconds and thirds and fourths, and I felt like I was close, and it was nice to get one towards the end of the year. And I was going to get my PJ Tour card really no matter what. It was just a matter of weeks, but it was nice to win a tournament, sort it all out, and then not have to stress. And then that was back in the wraparound, so we started playing PJ Tour golf like a month later.
Right away.
But yeah, that got me. It was a nice boost. To win at the Korn Ferry Tour level is insanely difficult. Certainly, to win at the PJ Tour level is very difficult too. I have yet to do that, but both are equally as difficult. So to grab that win just before graduating to the tour, I think certainly helped me. So I probably, I was really pissed off when I hit that ball in the bunker in Omaha and made a sloppy double. But it worked out. It won me a golf tournament the next week and got me even more ready to play my PGA Tour golf there a couple months later.
That's funny to me. And on a side note there, that you showed up late Tuesday and just hit a few putts, and then Pro-Am Wednesday, because I landed in Springfield at 4:00 on Wednesday afternoon. I played horribly in Omaha. I actually withdrew after Thursday's round because it was supposed to be 115 on Friday, and I think I had to shoot about 65 to make the cut. And I went home. I didn't touch a club. And I had one foot in the door for retirement already anyway. So I showed up Wednesday at 4:00. I hit putts for 20 minutes. I hit balls for 20 minutes. I had a caddy meeting me on the range at 6:00 the next morning because I was the first tee time out, who I'd never met before. He was a college kid from the area. And we finished second, and I moved up to 32nd on the money list or something, and gave me a good chance. And then I ended up getting hurt the next week, just randomly. Thursday morning, I woke up and couldn't move my neck, and I was like, well, there's a sign. It was fun while it lasted. But
that's the worst. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But yeah, I mean, it goes to show, especially now that I've seen a lot of tour courses, that is one of the nice things about living in Dallas. Most of the time I can finish a week and get home on a Sunday. And then I usually don't leave out until Tuesday morning, Tuesday early afternoon, and just do a brief bit of work. You got to try to get as much rest as you can. And
yes.
Stay away too. I mean, it's nice to stay away from. It's a circus. It's a circus every week. It's nice to step outside of the circus and kind of take a deep breath and maybe get a little work in here and there on a Monday at home. That's very rare. But yeah, take some time away and get your mind, get your body, get everything ready to go back into that circus, dealing with all you got to deal with while you're out there playing. It's a lot, and it can be a lot. But
I've never understood why guys play this. I've never understood why the guys play 6, 7, 8 weeks in a row. I just don't. I mean, physically, fine. Yes, we can all walk 18 holes of ground, of golf every day. But mentally, and that's why when I withdrew from Omaha, I looked at my caddy, who was a friend of mine that week, and I said, "I'm mentally fried, man. I'm telling you, I've got nothing in the tank. I want to go home. I want to jump in the pool with my kids. I want to swim with them for 4 or 5 days, and I'll hop on a bird and I'll go to Springfield." And I showed up and I was refreshed. Like my mental
that's the best thing for it.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. He's like, "Oh my gosh, you were right, weren't you?" I was like, "I've been doing this long enough. I know when I'm checked out, brainwave wise." So
I try to avoid, and it's going to be hard this next year. It's basically any event that I'm in, I'm going to need to be playing. But they are spaced out. Obviously, a couple of what they call full field events leading into signature events. But you play your way into signature events. Next thing you know, you're going to play 6 or 7 in a row, and a couple of those are going to be quote unquote more important, more beneficial if you have good weeks. That's the nice part about Dallas is even in the midst of all that, I can maybe cheat and have a night or two at home.
Just you'll know when your mind's fresh and you're ready to get back out there and you're excited to practice again, then go. But until then, leave the clubs in the bag and don't touch them. Go do anything but golf.
Exactly. That's the most beneficial thing.
Amen. So you had a great first year on the PGA Tour, finishing the top 60 in the FedEx Cup, and that got you into the PGA Championship at Kiowa in 2021, where you ended up finishing 4th. Now, I've got a friend who lives in Kiowa, so I've been fortunate to play it several times. My question is, what did that finish in a major do for your psyche, and how the hell did you manage to shoot under par at that place?
I say of the majors I've played, which has not been many, I've played Kiowa, the Masters the next year, the PGA the next year, and then the U.S. Open this past year at Pinehurst. Kiowa was the hardest but most fair. I mean, it was so fair. It was windy, so it's hard to get your ball where you want it to go. I was clearly able to do that most of the time. And then, like the turf, the conditions. The past palette is so good that if you didn't like a shot, this is not shocking that Phil Mickelson won there. If you didn't like a shot into the greens, you could intentionally miss the green. And if you were chipping, you intentionally missed it to a spot where it was into the wind on the chip shot. It was like a video game chip shots. You just hit it and it just stopped right by the hole. I mean, I did that a lot. I played a lot of obviously very smart golf. and then hit some fantastic shots as well. Because there were times where there really wasn't anywhere to miss. You got to just man up and hit it where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
What it did for my psyche was obviously certainly felt like I belonged on the biggest stage. I then had to battle some struggles a little bit after that because honestly it was kind of hard getting up for a regular tour event. It's like, I would rather just do these majors. There's only 4 of them a year, but like these majors are a whole lot of fun. I certainly there are more consequences, right, for missing and not thinking your way through a shot and all that stuff. Less, if you have 130 yards, you're just trying to fly it basically in the hole most every tour. Because there's just not a lot of consequence up around the hole, or the greens aren't always firm, and it's just not as hard. I really enjoyed the kind of cerebral approach you had to take to major championship golf, and was able to play a few majors really well. The coolest part of it was they moved the tee up on 16 on Sunday, par 5, and drove it in the fairway, and we're waiting for the green to clear, and we're between 5 and 6 iron into a par 5. And by far the coolest part was we probably had a minute and a half, 2 minute wait. I got to turn to my brother who was caddying for me, and say to him, like, we need to make the best decision here between these two clubs. What gives us a chance to make an eagle? Because we have a chance to win this golf tournament, to win a major. That is something that was probably our greatest moment. Player caddy, we had another great one. Finishing second in Napa. I think it was earlier that year, or maybe the year before. I lose track of the years, but we had another chance to win a tournament too. But that brief moment that we had a chance to win a major was really cool. Something that we'll think back on fondly, and awesome moment we shared together.
No, it's really cool. That's awesome. You probably don't remember this at all, but that year at Kiowa, the practice round, I can't remember if it was Tuesday. It must have been Wednesday. I went up to see my buddy that lives up there, and we parked out behind 14 at that beach club and walked down 14, 15, all the way to 18. And I'm standing behind 17 tee box, and you're on the tee waiting to go in a practice round. And I see you keep looking over my direction, and finally, Weedy, is that you? Weedy. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, Harry? How are you, man? So you waved me up, and I'm standing there, and we're talking on the back of the tee box, and you were playing with Van Rooyen and somebody else.
Yep.
But you were first to hit, and for those that don't know, 17's at 200 and I don't even know what it was, 220, 230 probably in the practice round, and it was straight into a 20-mile-an-hour wind. And you stepped up, and the way I tell the stories, you stepped up and hit it had to have been like a 2-iron.
Yeah, I hit a couple 2-irons into that hole, yeah.
Yep, it was this 2-iron, and you flighted the thing beautifully. It went up the flagstick and came straight down the flagstick. It was one of the prettiest long iron shots I've ever seen anybody hit. And it was 20 yards short from clearing the water and went right in the middle of the pond. And you couldn't hit it any better. And then I watched Van Rooyen just smoke 3-wood and barely got it into the front third of the green.
We definitely hit 2-iron there. Definitely hit 2-iron there. It was the first 2 days. Then they moved the tee up, and the wind switched a little bit. It was 2 2-irons, a 7-iron, and a 6-iron. That hole was brutal. I did not hit the green. I didn't hit the water, and I didn't hit the green for 4 days. I played that hole 1 under. One of them was in the fringe, but technically it's not on the green. I made like a probably 55-footer for birdie there on Friday. And then 3 really good up and downs the other part. I mean, it's just brutal. That stretch right there, that's the perfect stretch. You park at the beach club. 14 is brutal, par 3. 15 and 16. 16 is an extremely difficult par 5. It was less difficult once they moved the tee up, but extremely difficult. And then, 17 and 18 are hang on to your hat. They are extremely difficult. Yeah, the finish there, I loved it. I loved the golf course. That week, obviously holds a very fond place in my heart. I met some friends, some now lifelong friends, and they sponsor me now. They own the private clubs there at Kiowa and a few of the developments. So I'm technically a member of not the Ocean Course, but the other ones. And my wife and I have taken trips. Yes, River and Cassique. We've taken trips there. Yeah, we love Kayla. She did her bachelorette there. They just got back from her mom's birthday weekend there. I mean, we absolutely love Kiowa. And it all started with my first major and having some great success in it, and hopefully
awesome.
have some more success and more majors.
Yep, that's awesome. Yeah, my best friend since I was like 3 years old lives up there, and he's a member at the River and Cacique and Briars and all the places up there. And so I'll go up there a few times a year. I'm getting ready to go up in a couple of weeks, it looks like, as well. And but no, they're so fun to play. Yeah, it's a great little place. So
yeah, that ocean course, good luck.
Yeah,
I put it on your list. You got to do it, but good luck.
I play that pro member guest every year with them, or I have the last few years anyway. And the first year I played the ocean course, we got it as our second round, and 14 through 18 were straight into about a 25-mile-an-hour wind, and I hit lumber into 14, 15, 16, 17, and couldn't get to 18 in 2.
Yeah, no thanks.
I'm like, I got off the golf course and I was just like, give me a beverage. Don't make me go back out there. That was painful.
I mean, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. You're either going to get those stretches into the wind or downwind.
Yep.
Neither one's easy.
No. So, all right, bud. Well, after playing a couple years on the PGA Tour, the next few years weren't your best golf. You had conditional status on the PGA, went back to the Korn Ferry Tour. And before we get into the seasons, I want our listeners to understand what it means as a professional golfer to go from the PGA Tour to the Korn Ferry Tour, because this is one thing I think people just take for granted. Like, oh, he's not on the PGA anymore. He had to get down and play the Korn Ferry Tour. So I was looking at some numbers this morning because I knew we had our interview today. And if you look at, and I'll just run through these quickly, number 150 on the money list for the PGA Tour made $562,000. Number 150 on the Korn Ferry made $33,000. Number 100 on the PGA made $1.19 million. Number 100 on the Korn Ferry made $87,000. Number 50 made $3.19 million versus $196,000, and then number 1 on tour made $29.22 million, and number 1 made $1 million exactly. So imagine going into your office job tomorrow, guys, and your boss tells you to keep doing the same job you've been doing, but unfortunately, you're going to have to take a 94% pay cut.
Yeah.
Now go work hard. What is the mental drain like bouncing between those two tours? Now, I may have done that better than anybody in this world. I played 7 years on the PGA Tour, and I kept my full card one time, I think. So I was either mentally strong or incredibly stupid. I haven't figured that out yet, but I kept getting back somehow.
It's usually a little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. But what's that like, just knowing that, if you have a putt, whether it's at the Korn Ferry or in Q School, to, hey, if I make this, I go to the PGA Tour, and it used to be start your year out in Napa, or if I miss this, I get a few months off and I get to go sit on a bus in Panama to drive to the golf course and try to avoid all the, dogs and roosters that are running through the roads.
Yeah, I mean, that's the experiences is certainly, they're very different, especially at the start of the year. But yeah, we saw it this year. Noah Goodwin, he wasn't a teammate of mine, but a former SMU golfer, and then Alistair, I think it's Doherty. Noah was fortunate to finish 30th, and Alistair finished 31st, and it certainly throughout the year, either one could have done more to shore up there, but they didn't. But it all came down to two guys' putts that were not the two of them. I mean, they finish and have in Alistair's case, he had a great week, finished tied for second, but tied with too many people.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's literally guys are sitting there, and the way that I've always put it, and it equates relatively evenly, not so much with the difference at the top. Number 1 PGA Tour, number 1 Korn Ferry Tour, but it's basically you're adding a 0 to every paycheck you make the next year if you can graduate to the PGA Tour. Look, certainly the money that in the access to the earnings that I'll have on the PGA Tour versus the Korn Ferry Tour, it makes a big difference. I don't really play the game for money. I mean, that's how I make my living, but I've at least to this point been fortunate not to get kind of caught up in the money side of it. Look, I'm probably in a minority here, but I had a nice year on the Korn Ferry Tour this year, was fortunate to win 2 times. I felt like I got paid plenty for what I did this year. I mean, it was able to live comfortably, not change my lifestyle one bit.
Yep.
You know, and if I do have the same results that I had this year, next year, you know, I'm stubborn. It won't change my lifestyle, and I don't really like nice things. I like to travel. I like to spend money on comfort and convenience. That's about it. Not a car guy. I'm not all these fancy things.
Yep.
Maybe a vacation here and there. You know, if I have that same year, it'll change my career. It won't change my life. And I was fortunate to have a couple good years on the PGA Tour before some struggle that I had a leg up where, you know, I had already made enough money that going down to the Korn Ferry Tour wasn't going to drastically change my lifestyle. But yeah, dude, it's, you know, that's the money side of it. You get into the experiences. You brought up Panama. And Panama and Bogota are places that I had been before too. PGA Tour Latin America. You know, if I were to unfortunately have not gotten my PGA Tour card this year through the Korn Ferry Tour, I don't think I'd be going back to Panama and Bogota. And it doesn't have anything to do with those places or those golf courses, but like, that was about the closest I think I've ever been. I missed both those cuts. Like, fortunately for me, the closest that I've ever been to like a state of depression. I mean, it's just depressing. It's hot as shit. You play poor golf. You're there all alone. You're in, you know, not the nicest hotel rooms ever. You're trying to figure out where you're going to eat, you know, some decent food. And again, like Panama City is still a great city. You can go out and find good food. And Bogota is the same. I've always loved Bogota. A ton of fun there. We've got some great restaurants that we've gone to back and forth. I've probably been to Bogota 5 times in my life, and I love it. But I don't necessarily love playing golf there. I mean, I just haven't done that well in either one of those places. And yeah, I just would try to avoid like when I had back-to-back weeks where I struggled this year, and it's like, dude, I hope I never have to come back here again. Not trying to make it sound like it was Panama or Bogota's fault, but like, I'm good, man. I don't need to come back here and do this again. Yeah. And then after that, you get to play in the States some, which is nice. But yeah, you're not always playing. A lot of them are great. You're not always playing the best. And sometimes things come up throughout the year that you just don't want to deal with, that are usually taken care of on the PGA Tour. But I was fortunate this year to, other than really Panama and Bogota, I brought a pretty good mindset, if you will, into it. Like, I was okay and borderline happy to be humbled and back down to this level and not prove to everyone else, but just kind of, you know, prove it again to myself that I know how to do this and I know that I'm better than this level. Yeah, and I enjoyed seeing people that I hadn't seen in a while. You know, I mean, rules officials or folks that run the tournaments or guys that, you know, maybe I missed over the last couple of years. They stayed on the Korn Ferry Tour for a few years. It got back more to mini tour golf, and the Korn Ferry Tour is not a mini tour, but it got back more towards mini tour golf, where it's like kind of romantic again. You're going back to a few of the same places, and you're trying to find some cool places to stay, some cool places to eat, and trying to find gyms that you can join for a week or a month, even though you're going to be there for a week. You know, please cancel this after a month. Please cancel this after a month. And you got to check and make sure that it's canceled after a month. Yeah, man, I enjoyed my time, which allowed me, I'm sure, to play some of the best golf that I've played in a couple of years. But I did. I enjoyed it. I'm very glad to not have to do it for at least this next year. Because the goal, everybody wants to play and compete against the best, and the goal is to get to the PGA Tour and be competitive and, you know, achieve your goals and your dreams. Most people don't dream of playing the Korn Ferry Tour, and that's okay. That's not a knock. That's just kind of how we're wired. We want to play and achieve the best. We want to play against the best and beat the best. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Good. Well, I want to touch base briefly. I don't want to keep you here all day, but I want to touch on your 2 wins this year, which were incredible. I think the first one especially just didn't get the publicity it probably deserved, but it was your hometown event just outside Kansas City. You're standing on the last tee box on Sunday. You're 3 back. You know, you're putting on a nice show. You're in contention. Everybody's happy. You lay it up in the rough on a par 5, and then you hoop it from 83 yards for eagle. And then who was lead? Tanner Gore was leading. He bogeys 17 and then makes par on 18. So that 3-shot deficit all of a sudden goes back to 0. And you end up making a 7-footer in the first hole of a playoff to win in your hometown event with all your friends and family watching.
Yeah.
What the shot alone aside, what was that week like for you?
Yeah, well, shout out to the Korn Ferry Tour media and social media people for getting that shot and getting it as well as they did. They were in the perfect spot, and those folks did a great job all year. That week was awesome. I stayed with my in-laws, my wife's brother and his wife, and they were great hosts. They made my life really easy. A lot of home cooked meals, which we hadn't had in a while, which is I always love that.
Yeah,
it was nice to see friends and family again. I mean, it's basically every day we went out to the golf course, we'd run into somebody that we hadn't seen in a while. And then, from the jump Thursday on, they were all out there. Had a great group of my high school buddies there watching, which is a ton of fun. They got loud and rowdy as the weekend progressed. No, yeah, I mean, I teed off on 18 in fourth place. I guess the 72nd hole in fourth place. I was definitely not expecting to win the tournament. Kind of the whole back nine I was either in the lead or one or two back kind of as we were going, and I kind of slow start to the back nine. I bogeyed the 10th hole, and I think I made one more birdie and just a bunch of pars. And it did kind of feel like, man, my chances are lost. So I, basically played 18 a little bit more free. Figure let's give ourselves a good chance for birdie because every point's going to matter. This is a great week. We're gonna move up in standings. Yada yada yada. And then I guess the golf gods had something else in mind because we were playing the ball up every day there. The fairways have just it's a tougher time in Kansas City. Unless they get a warm spring, the fairways don't quite grow in. So we were playing it up every day, and that 18th hole is a long par 5 up the hill, and you can't really reach it. But playing the ball up, you can drive in the fairway and then get it on a nice little bit of zoysia and bang driver off the deck and get it really close to the front edge. And I'd done a really good job, and I'm very good at that shot. I've done a really good job of that all 3 days, being just short. The 72nd hole, I definitely kind of chunk faded the driver off the deck about 70 yards shorter than I thought it was going to go. We get up there, and it's the worst lie I've seen all week. So I kind of walk up to the front of the green from 80 yards and see about where I want to land it. The flag's up on a little shelf, kind of in a little bowl. We're just trying to get it in that bowl and give ourselves a good look, trying to just move up the leaderboard. I'm not really thinking about winning a golf tournament.
Yep.
I had in my head landing that third shot from the rough about 12 to 14 paces longer than it landed. Obviously comes out with next to no spin. I mean, I hit it and I'm immediately yelling go because I don't want it to land short because then it's only going to move about a yard and I'm going to have a 60-footer for birdie. It fortunately goes and lands. I mean, it might have landed on the collar without reacting or barely on the green. And this thing tumbles and scoots all the way up towards the hole. And I'm already walking, figuring this ball's going to end up. As you see it rolling, it's like, okay, it's got enough topspin. It'll get onto that top shelf, maybe not all the way to the hole. I'm thinking 10, 12 feet short. I'm 15 yards from where I played the shot by the time the damn thing goes in the hole. And the folks are just getting louder and louder and louder and louder as it gets there. And eventually, they just freak out. I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. It went in the hole. And I turn to my caddy and say, you shitting me? That went in the hole, that shot. How I've played this whole hole, like, pretty poorly. Again, very fortunate to have it drop and go in the hole. And then fortunate, I'd never met Tanner before. I played one playoff hole with him. He seemed like a great kid. The bogey that he made on 17 it's a very difficult hole, not a bad bogey. And then he just skirted the edge with a birdie putt, I guess, on the 72nd. And I was fortunate I didn't have a good enough lie as much upslope in the playoffs. So I didn't go driver off the deck, but I really didn't need to. Pretty juiced up. Hit a 3-wood up there just short and chipped it up there and knocked it in and was fortunate to get that win, which was a ton of fun. We were,
I'll bet.
My wife and I had been married for 2 weeks. We just got back home and saw everybody. It was really fun to celebrate with everybody. Wake up not feeling so great the next morning because I celebrated a little bit. I got my mind right and prepared in the same way and was fortunate to win another one. The second one should not have been in a playoff. I mean, it was, but it should not have been in a playoff. I was trying to avoid these playoffs as much as I can because they're pretty damn stressful.
Why? You keep
getting
through them, so. I wouldn't worry about them.
I know. Book says I probably won't the next time, so I got to try to avoid it. Although I've got a nice little mental approach to playoffs. You basically just be okay with the result no matter what, and go out there and freewheel it because essentially the tournament's over.
Yep.
You might as well just go for it.
Yep.
Yeah, able to go back to back was really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I give you all the credit in the world for coming back and winning the next week. I didn't win a lot. I won twice on the Korn Ferry Tour. My first win, I won by 12, and I was just on cruise control the whole week. I couldn't do anything wrong, and I thought I was going to be the greatest golfer ever going forward. Yeah, Maryland.
Yeah.
And then I shot. I had the U.S. Open qualifier the next morning, and I shot 77 on the easy course, 5 bogeys, no birdies after shooting 29 under.
Yeah.
And I realized I was so mentally fried that I had nothing in the tank. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how you came back and did it again the next week at Knoxville, but kudos to you for getting yourself prepped and ready to go again. And, the one part I definitely want to touch on there with our podcast, obviously being a mental health platform as well, is the speech you gave afterwards. I thought was incredible. And the premise of it was you said you challenged everyone here to say something nice to someone you love. Also say something nice to someone that you don't know. Now, what brought that on to make you want to say that, and how was it received not only with the public, but with the other guys in the Korn Ferry?
Yeah. Well, what brought it on was, a day before that, Grayson Murray had taken his own life, which was incredibly sad. Grayson and I were not that close, but certainly in golf, I mean, it's a small, tight community, tight family. We certainly had plenty of practice rounds and, player dining lunches and breakfast together. So it was just kind of a sad day for the game. And then, as most everything kind of, not the show goes on, but the next day you wake up and you play your final round. And I did that Saturday night, a little while after learning he had passed, and stayed up, couldn't sleep that well. I mean, I'm always a pretty good sleeper, but couldn't sleep that well. And was just like allowing myself to think ahead. If I'm fortunate enough, I think I was just tied for the lead. But if I'm fortunate enough to win this tournament, maybe we'll see how it shakes out, but it would be kind of the appropriate time to kind of give some remembrance and say some nice words about Grayson, and then also kind of say some stuff, about kind of maybe the mental health issues and things that folks deal with on a day-to-day basis. We've had this in our family and the kind of our family friends with, dealing with suicide. And it sucks. And selfishly, I've been very fortunate to not have to deal with this personally, but it has touched those closest to me. And it has touched the golf community, which we probably never thought it would. So, again, fortunate, play 5-hour round of golf and win again in another playoff. And having to do the trophy acceptance and thanking all the volunteers 2 weeks in a row. You don't get the microphone first. You get the microphone about fourth. Yeah. And by that time, everybody has already been thanked. So you really don't get to say much. Yeah. Certainly in Kansas City, I said a bit more, was able to thank my wife, her family, my family, friends, everybody for being out. But in Knoxville, they had already nailed everything. So I basically just grabbed the mic and said, thank you to everybody that's already been thanked. It means a lot that you've hosted the event and welcomed me and everybody else to play here. And then that was pretty much the time to say something and just try to implore everybody to, for lack of a better term, be kind to themselves. Say something nice to somebody you love and something nice to somebody you don't even know. And then obviously people have comments on these things, but they were all in a positive manner. I did see, maybe a couple days later that I did, in theory, forget one part, and it is maybe the most important part of that is if you were to amend it, also say something nice to yourself about yourself daily, because that's something we all get, golfers especially. We all get caught up in our own world, how we're doing, what things are going on, the scores we're shooting. And we certainly can be very, very hard on ourselves, which everybody can be in every line of work. I'm in golf, so I feel like golfers especially are hard on themselves after damn near every shot. Because most of the shots you're going to hit are not going to be that successful. So just trying to be nicer to yourself daily is a huge thing. Yeah, man, it just felt like the right time. I wasn't doing it certainly for any publicity. I just wanted to say something nice because also the world we live in nowadays, in roughly a week, we're going to have an election. Everybody's going to be mean to each other for no reason about whomever wins. I mean,
yep.
I truly believe that the more this gets talked about, certainly between two males, it's something that you should be able to tough out and deal with yourself as a male. But it's not gender specific by any means. Everybody struggles all the time. But yeah, the more that we can just be kinder to one another, I think we can kind of be nicer to one another, be kinder to one another. The better we can make this world on our own. Person by person, little bit by little bit. It doesn't need to be big and dramatic gestures, but check in on a loved one, say something nice to a loved one, say hello to somebody walking by you on the street. You never know what somebody's going through. The more and more we can kind of take care of one another, the better the world's going to be, and hopefully the happier and more mentally healthy folks would be. Hopefully every day you do at least one of the three. In a perfect day, it would be all three of them.
No, I love the message. I think it is absolutely brilliant, and I think that more people need to realize it. And whether you're standing in line at the grocery store and the woman behind you says, "Hey, I love your shoes," that means something.
Perfect.
It's nice. You shouldn't have to say it. Oh, thank you. That's really nice of you, or just anything. But again, it doesn't cost anything.
The coolest. So I finish, I give the speech, and I go in and shower real quick. I've got my bags packed, and I pulled the car up just right to the front. I'm kind of throwing dirty clothes in my bag, and I had 3 different people come up to me at the car saying, basically case in point, they had been struggling with something. No one was specific with any of their struggles, but it meant the world to them that in that stage, and I wouldn't call it a big stage. I mean, certainly there were cameras, and then it goes around and filters wherever the things filter all over the internet and everything. But in that stage, they were very thankful that somebody just took the time to, in theory, recognize something that they were going through, even though I don't know the specifics and I'd never met these people, that it is, man, it's okay. It's okay to be not okay. And it's, when you're struggling with something, it's not permanent. These things are not permanent, no matter how much you think they are. There are ways, there are so many resources, and there are so many people that are able and willing to help. Many more that are willing and able to help than that are not. The world gets a bad rap nowadays, but living in it, I pretty much only experience people that are willing to help. There are certainly some bad apples here and there, but everybody that I come across, fortunate, but everybody that I've come across pretty much every day of my life is willing to help and willing to check on you and willing to, just plainly make you feel better or help you deal with a problem. So yeah, I mean, it's be vocal about it. Don't, I guess, try not to run from it, but be vocal. Be willing to seek help, because there are a ton of people that are more than willing and more than capable of helping you through whatever it is, no matter how awful it may seem to you at the time. It is certainly not permanent. It is a temporary thing, and it can be fixed.
No, correct. And I think that everybody that's going through something, and I'll lump myself in here. I mean, a lot of the struggles I was going through. And you think that you're the only one that thinks these thoughts, and you're the only one that's going through this, and nobody would understand. And then all of a sudden you start to realize when you hear somebody else talk about it that, oh my gosh, I have the same problem that they do. Or, I'm thinking the same thing they do. And the only way you'll ever know that is to either talk to somebody or have somebody else talk to you. But sitting in silence, you're never going to know that. And it's amazing what just simply talking about certain things can do to relieve some of that stress and anxiety from you. So I love the message. I think silence it was great. There's a reason they say suffering in silence. Yeah. If you're suffering in silence, it's never going to fix itself. So just as easy as it sounds, just talk to somebody. Future Birdies is based in Charleston, South Carolina, and is a developing golf platform focusing on player wellness and performance, and is home to the #1 hat in golf. Visit futurebirdies.com to learn more, and be sure to enter promo code WHEAT for 20% off of your first order. That's promo code WHEAT for 20% off. Future birdies, aim high, go low. Now back to Big Beautiful. So, well, wonderful, Harry. Well, I won't keep you too long here. We got to run through our 6-pack of questions, though. It's just 6 fun, quick answered questions that get to let the people know a little bit more about you. And again, I tried to dig up as much dirt as I could, and I couldn't find anything on you. So you get off easy on these.
A good sign.
Yeah, I know. You need to act up a little bit more or something. So
yeah, or you're asking the wrong people. I'm sure you weren't, but
I'm sure I was. So number 1, you need to pick one. It's kind of a 2-parter here, but the first part is you need to pick one other SMU golfer, past or present, to be your partner in a best ball match.
That's got to be Bryson.
Okay. Yep. But then you also have to pick your 2 opponents that you really don't want to have to face from SMU as well.
Former SMU guys?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Probably Kelly and Colt. I mean,
okay,
they're really good.
Kelly's really nice
good.
though.
There's a lot
Kelly's
of guys
friendly.
Yeah, Kelly's friendly up to a point. Kelly's a pretty ruthless competitor.
Okay,
he does it looking nice and sounding nice, but he's pretty ruthless when you get going too. And if you try to get under Kelly's skin, and sometimes you can. Yep. Very rare. But if you get him going and get him pissed off, you got to be nice to Kelly in return, because then he stays nice and stays more mellow. If he gets kind of fired up, he can really, really get it going. He can put you away. Colt is got to be thrown in there because it's just like it's so hard. He makes the day very difficult on you because he is just needling you from the jump.
Yeah, I was trying to picture a world where I had a partner and I had to play Colt Knost and Payne Stewart in a best ball match.
Yeah.
And that would have been nasty because those two would they'd rip your heart out, and then Colt would commentate the whole process while they're doing it.
Dude, yeah, to throw Payne in there as your partner and just watch he and Colt go at each other.
Yep.
That's and the stories, I was fortunate to play a couple years with Payne's son, Aaron. I never met Payne, but heard plenty of stories. Aaron was basically the exact same thing, certainly the spitting image, and could give some incredible shit, and it was great shit taker too. Yeah, to watch Payne and Colt go at it, and then just, basically Kelly and I were just the innocent bystanders and able to just kind of play and hit shots where we want and all that stuff. Whew.
TV documentary.
That would be pretty box office. I mean,
yes,
it'd be pretty fun to watch Bryson and Colt go at it too, because they could not be any more opposite of one another.
Correct.
It'd be funny to watch that. Bryson would just shut him up with hitting it 9 miles and making a whole bunch of birdies.
I was just going to say, Colt's banging that 4-iron hybrid or whatever he's got there, while Bryson's hitting pitching wedge from the same spot.
Yeah, he's good. Colt's really good with that 4-iron hybrid, but Bryson would wear him out. Hit it probably about 100 yards by him now.
Yep, I believe that. Good choices there. So number 2, what are you more afraid of? Going for a par 5 in 2 over water with a 250-yard carry, tied for the lead, or the buttons on your golf shirts?
Now, you did bring this up earlier. I do button one button. I don't know if you can see it here, but there is one that is buttoned. But I have to have a 4-button shirt. A 3-button is not
that's
enough.
Why.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
have a 4-button, so it definitely looks like there's nothing. But it's. I
feel overdressed. I mean,
yeah. Who is it? Bubba Watson that would always button it all the way up to the top. Man, I'm a bigger guy. I've got big round shoulders. That looks way better weighting. They just
I'm comfortable. It feels like it breathes well. It breathes well.
Yeah, I'm like claustrophobic. Button them up.
It feels good.
Yeah, I guess I'm probably more afraid of my buttons. I'm never going to button any more than one.
Yeah.
And then, 250 over water tied for the lead. You ain't really worried about. You're clearly rolling, so you're just going to smack it onto the green. It doesn't always work out that way, but you certainly.
Well, you got to ask.
Smack.
You never know until you ask, right?
Of the buttons.
Okay.
Yeah, probably more afraid of those.
All right, good answer. Number 3, I'm going to make you the director for the next season of Full Swing on Netflix, but I need you to pick 5 guys that the cameras will follow on the Korn Ferry tour, not the PGA. And if you haven't had that much time on the Korn Ferry, so I'll give you a pass on and I'll let you go to the PGA Tour again because I think you got a couple characters out there. I'll let you have your choice there.
I mean,
but it can't be the same ones they're already filming, other than Joel, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, Joel's the easy answer. I think Joel might be tired of all the cameras. So then he's not going to always be his normal funny Joel self. 5 guys on the Korn Ferry tour. I guess I could use. I mean, look, no disrespect to any of them. I'm not doing any of the top players. It just was not. It's not that enthralling to watch these guys fly around in private jets and complain about whatever it is that they complain about.
Yep.
I think the show. Well, the show wouldn't be more popular if it was just 5 Korn Ferry guys because you do need the names, you need the star powers. I realize how important the top players in the game are too. If I'm going to diss them, I need to also, if they, in theory, thank you to them. But yeah, I mean, a show with 5 Korn Ferry guys, and if you could pick the five guys that are going to finish around that top 30 number, I mean, that would be, as a golf fan and a golf nut, that would be riveting television. To have Noah, we've already mentioned Noah and Alistair this year. I mean, 30 and 31, like the difference all the differences that come there. If you had inside baseball on all that, that would be, for me personally, a golf fan, and certainly one that has played with almost everybody. That would be way more riveting than watching name top player, tap in and finish second and make $2.5 million, and then get on his jet and fly home and talk about how he's excited to be with his family, which I know he is, and he's earned the right to do that. But,
right. Yeah, they do a great job of storytelling to the point where I'd love to see, to your point, the guy who is sitting in the clubhouse. There's a 12-footer and a 7-footer. Both guys have to make, otherwise he gets a PGA Tour card, and they both pour him in. Doc Redman was one. I can't remember who the second one was, but they both pour him in.
Yeah, Doc and Brian Campbell.
Yeah, 3-way tie for second instead of a 2-way tie for second, and he's
and then go. I played a good deal of golf with Alistair this year. That guy's incredibly good at golf, and I think, if I had to bet, I would say he's a shoe-in to finish in the top 30 this next year, or the top 30 might be the top 20 now this year, but still, I mean, he's very good, more than capable of playing the PGA Tour and playing it at a high level. There are some guys, I'd say, let's do this. I mean, I throw myself in there just because that gives me one name. I do not want to do it, but I'll throw myself in there.
Yeah, you're good TV.
I don't want to do it, and I'm not going to do it. I'd follow Frankie Sappin.
Yep.
I think Frankie's about to be, he's probably a year or 2 away just because of how things are set up. I think Frankie's about to be a superstar. Guy hits at 9 miles, is really, really good at everything. Cristobal del Soler kind of has an interesting way of doing it. I'd follow him. Probably no one on this planet works harder at his game than him. I mean, a lot of guys work very hard. Cristobal is like morning, noon, and night. Great. I mean, he's Chilean, so he's also got a great accent. I mean, it's like poetry when he talks.
Yeah.
That's 3. Kevin Velo graduated, California kid. I'm a big fan of Kevin. I think he's going to be really, really good. Kevin, I played with him I played with him over the weekend in Knoxville. He was up there with me, had a chance to win. And a couple other times where we were up towards the leaderboard. I don't think I've ever experienced somebody that had literally such a, and it's an asset to him, such a nonchalant attitude and all right, well, I'll just hit the next one better. Was seriously impressed with his ability to do that, especially somebody that was, trying to have great finishes throughout the year and earn his first PGA Tour card. But, and then I would follow, I'm going to mess up his name. I believe they say Aldrich Potgetter, the South African kid who's 20 years old. And when I say hits the ball 9 miles, my man hits it 9 miles. I got to know his dad some too, who was not caddying for him, but basically kind of his manager throughout the year as a 20-year-old would need some freaking help being in a different country that he grew up in. and to watch them, you kind of watch the beginning of the year and the end of the year and kind of how they were preparing and how they've grown and learned was really cool. So as a golf nut, to try to follow them do that again as they're trying to learn all new golf courses and how best to. I mean, the kid's got all the tools in the world. It's at 9 miles, putts it good. I mean, he's great at everything. Kind of try to follow them, how they're going to navigate PGA Tour golf would be a lot of fun. Also, South Africa had great accents.
Yeah, no kidding. You like the accents. Is it just the way they say big, beautiful to you? Or
yeah, I mean, his dad looks like, he's all jacked up too. Aldrich's dad, his dad, he's a good looking man, an older gentleman, is taking care of himself, speaks great, was always very kind to me. I was a big fan of theirs. I was very glad they were kind of on that bubble too. I was very glad that they got through too, because I think that kid is about to take off.
Well, that gives us some names to watch for sure. So,
yeah.
So you've been known to share houses with other tour players when you're on the road. Who is the best roommate you've got? And I won't say who's the worst, but who's the messiest one to deal with?
Keith Mitchell is the messiest one to deal with. Now, Keith is not creating messes. He's not leaving dishes or clothes everywhere. Keith is messy because Keith just never stops. He's, you got a room with Keith at no offense, at like a John Deere, where there's really like 1 or 2 restaurants to go to. There's not much, it's a smaller town. You got a room with Keith in a place like that because there's just not much for him to do. There's no coffee shops and all this stuff. Like, you room with Keith, and I've done it. You room with him in La Jolla for Torrey, and he's wanting to go to this dinner and try this and try that. He's messy because he wants to be busy, and I would like to not be very busy. I was busy during the day.
Yeah, time to get horizontal.
The opposite of that is a friend of his and a friend of mine. JT Poston is the easiest roommate of all time. JT is up for anything. Yeah, we can cook, we can order, sure, whatever. I roomed with Doc Redman a lot this year. Doc is probably the greatest roommate that you could ever stay with. Doc loves cooking, so he's gonna cook. Usually do 1-to-1, but Doc's gonna cook like 3 meals, and I'm gonna cook 1. Doc is very into taking care of himself, so that meal's gonna be healthy. Big fan of Doc's.
Good. Doc and JT. Yeah, he lives here in Jacksonville. We played some golf together.
Yeah. Keith is, and I love rooming with Keith, but Keith's a busy guy.
They call him Cashmere Keith for a reason, right? Always moving and shaking.
He doesn't slow down. Yeah.
Yep. Good answer. So number 5, I got a scenario for you. So you're in the final group on Saturday at the Waste Management with a 3-footer for par. If you miss it, you'll be tied for the lead going into Sunday, but in the next to last group. If you make it, you've got a 1-shot lead, but we'll play with Joel Damon in the final round and have to hear 250,000 people screaming, "Take it off" for 5 hours. Do you tank the putt on purpose?
No, because Joel's really good. I'm going to need a shot on him. You got to take the shot. I got to have the shot. And look, if that scenario plays out, we're going to we'll have dealt with it for 3 days before that. So maybe by Sunday. And Sunday's usually not as rowdy. There's other things to do. People want to watch football, or they're just tired and they're flying home.
Yep.
We're probably in a pretty good headspace to deal with all that.
Okay.
And that would obviously be a dream scenario to share that day with Joel. And even more of a dream to start one ahead of him. Gives me just that slight, I've just got, percentages-wise, I've got a little bit better chance than he does.
Yep. Fair enough. All right. Side note there, how many bottles do you think were actually on the ground? If I set the over-under at
probably about
if I set the over-under at 1,500.
No, it's got to be less than that. I'd say a couple hundred. Because I think some people just didn't want to get rid of their beers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It felt like a couple thousand.
Yes, it's what it looked like on TV.
That quickly turned, was like, oh, we're having fun. This is wild. This is also very stupid. To like, oh shit, we need to get out of here. This is not safe.
Yep. Now, did you know Joel was taking his shirt off? Now, I know you guys had talked about it and said, hey, I'm going to lift my shirt up or something.
No. I had no
Okay.
idea. I wasn't even planning on doing it myself until the putt dropped in. But good man Joel did not let me. He did not let me die on that hill alone. By the time I went up and grabbed the ball out of the hole and turned around, he had his fully off and obviously doing the whole helicopter. I mean, it was a lot. It will never happen again. I can guarantee you that.
It's
no matter what
TV.
anybody chance.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a nice.
No matter
envelope.
what anybody chance.
Yeah, I'm sure there was an envelope in your locker.
We got threatened.
Really?
With a fine. They didn't ever end up fining us. Now, if we did it again, I would imagine that fine is for sure coming and it will be pretty heavy-handed.
Probably double the next. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of had a principal's office moment. Don't do that.
Okay. It was great.
Not doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did wind up great. Look, entertainment early on a Sunday is we're teeing off the back nine and 60th. It's probably not a bad thing.
Yep. No, it works. And if there's one place you can do it, there's your spot. So you guys will be legends for life there. That's for sure. Last question. I ask everybody the same question. I'm going to take all these answers, jot them down, and sell them to somebody down the road. But if 32-year-old Harry could go back and tell 22-year-old Harry the things that would allow him to have a successful career both on and, most importantly, off the golf course, what would he tell him?
That's a lot of what we just talked about. Mental health wise, I'd say do your absolute best, do the most that you can to prepare, leave no stone unturned, and then while you're out there, man, have fun and accept whatever happens. With that, be really, really nice to yourself.
Yep.
That's it. That's what I felt like I've learned over the last really 5 years, certainly 10 years. And I'm really looking forward to, again, I'm not going to be perfect at it, but I'm really looking forward to really, really trying hard to implement that this next year and kind of see where it takes me.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And the PGA Tour does make it a lot tougher. And it's weird to think about, and I had this thought the other day was, how many of those guys are still excited to sign autographs? The first time some kid asked you for your autograph at a tournament, you get giddy, you're excited. You can't sign enough of them. You could sign 1,000 of them. And then all of a sudden it becomes a business. And, yes, you're out there. Yes, it's your livelihood. But, some of the joy of the game starts to go away the older you get. Some of the little things that you kind of take for granted, like, kids being out there and wanting your autograph and wanting just a piece of you one way or the other, whether it's a glove or some advice or something like that. And I think it's easy to get lost on the big tour out there. Just with
good
all
way
the
to put it, Weedy.
Everybody pulling you side to side.
You just go. So. You get to the point where you just go through the motions. That's just something you do.
Yep.
You don't stop and enjoy doing it.
Correct.
Enjoy that there's somebody that has gone out of their way to come up to you and wants you to sign a little piece of paper, whatever it may be, flag.
Yep.
The way you asked that question, I mean, boy, I don't know that I enjoy it, or I certainly don't enjoy it as much as I should.
Yep.
The top players, I bet they don't even really notice what they're doing. I would
exactly
be pretty certain that none of them currently enjoy it, and they probably don't even remember the last time they enjoyed somebody coming up to them, especially even like just a kid, somebody coming up to them and asking for an autograph. That's the getting caught up in your own world. It's okay to try to live outside of your world and just
not hard to do.
Enjoy where you are. Enjoy where your feet stand.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, you made it. Thanks so much for coming on. It was good chatting with you again.
Anytime.
Best of luck to you this year, and obviously the whole world will be rooting for you. Got to see more Big Beautiful on TV.
Yeah, hopefully I make it easy on everybody. That means playing some good golf.
I love it. I'll be good, brother. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Woody.
Be good, brother. Thanks again for coming on, and we'll talk later.
Anytime. All the best.
See you, man. Same to you.
See ya.
Thanks. All righty there, folks. That there was the legend, Harry Higgs. What an absolute beauty, man. Hope you guys enjoyed that pod. I loved it. I think, as I said in the beginning, I think that shot that he hit in Kansas City might have been the best golf shot of the year, considering the circumstances. I mean, he's standing on the 18th hole, 18th tee box, 3 back, and next thing you know, he holds a wedge. The other guy makes bogey, forces the playoff. But as someone who's played in their hometown event before, there's an incredible amount of pressure added to it just playing in front of that many friends and family. And for him to hoop it from 83 yards out of the rough, no less. That's just unbelievable to me. So congrats to Harry on a phenomenal 2024, and I'm expecting big things out of him for 2025 as well. So it'd be awesome for the game of golf to see him to get off to a fast start and do something on the PGA Tour. So I want to thank you all for listening, and make sure to tune in next week. We've got ESPN's own Michael Collins joining the pod, and get ready to laugh. He's one of the best storytellers there is out there, and he drops a couple of beauties on us. So make sure you catch that, and thanks again for listening. Take care, everybody.